Tom lived in a quiet town where roads were dusty and people rarely looked twice at one another. He was a single dad who worked as a roadside mechanic using old tools and strong patience. Every morning he woke before sunrise and prepared his young son for school. His life was simple but heavy with responsibility. He believed that honesty and hard work were the only things he could pass on to his child. The small repair space where Tom worked was built from scrap metal and wooden boards. It stood beside an empty shop that had been closed for years. Cars stopped there only when they had no other choice. Tom never complained about the place because it allowed him to earn just enough to survive. He cleaned engines carefully and treated every vehicle like it mattered. Money was always short in Tom's life, but kindness was not. He often fixed small problems without charging when he saw worry on someone's face. People in town knew him as a quiet man who spoke less and worked more. He never shared his struggles with anyone. His focus stayed on keeping his son safe and hopeful. That day began like many others with a slow morning and no customers. Tom sat on a wooden chair tightening bolts on an old engine part. His stomach felt empty because he had skipped breakfast again. He had given the last bread at home to his son before school. Hunger had become a normal feeling for him. The sun climbed higher, and the road remained silent. Dust moved gently with the wind, and the town fell to sleep. Tom wiped his hands and stood up, ready to close early if no work came. Just then, a small car approached slowly and stopped near his repair space. The engine made a weak sound before going silent. A woman stepped out of the car and looked around with worry in her eyes. She seemed tired from travel, and her face showed stress rather than comfort. She walked toward Tom and asked if he could look at her car. Her voice was polite but shaky as if she feared hearing bad news. Tom nodded and asked her to open the front of the car. He leaned forward and listened closely to the engine. His eyes moved carefully, checking each part without rushing. He found the issue quickly and knew it was not serious. It was a simple fix that required time and focus. When Tom explained the problem, the woman looked relieved. She asked about the cost, and Tom gave a small amount. Her expression changed again, and she slowly shook her head. She explained that she did not have enough money with her and had spent most of it earlier that day. The woman opened her bag and showed a simple sandwich wrapped in paper. She said it was all she had left and felt embarrassed offering it. Her shoulders dropped as she waited for Tom's response. She expected refusal or anger like she had seen before from others. Tom looked at the sandwich and then at her face. He smiled gently and said the sandwich was more than enough. He told her that food mattered more than money at times. The woman looked shocked and tried to argue, but Tom had already started working. As he repaired the car, Tom thought about his son and how they would share the sandwich later. His hands moved steadily, tightening and adjusting parts with care. The woman watched quietly from the side, noticing how calm and skilled he was. There was no greed in his actions, only focus. The sandwich rested on a small table beside him. Tom did not touch it until the work was done. He believed in finishing one responsibility before enjoying another. Within a short time, the engine was fixed and ready to go. Tom stepped back and told the woman to start the car. The engine responded smoothly this time, sounding strong and steady. Relief washed over her face, and she smiled widely. She thanked Tom again and again, holding back emotion. She offered to bring more money later, but Tom refused kindly. He told her to drive safely and help someone else when she could. The woman nodded slowly, deeply moved by his words. She handed him the sandwich with both hands before leaving. As she drove away, she looked back through the mirror. Tom was already cleaning his tools as if nothing special had happened. To him, it was just another repair job. But for her, it felt like something much more meaningful. Later that evening, Tom walked home with the sandwich in his hand. His small house was quiet except for his son's voice reading aloud from a school book. Tom listened with a smile as he placed the sandwich on the table. They shared it together, laughing and talking about simple things. Tom never mentioned the woman again that night. He helped his son with homework and tucked him into bed. His thoughts stayed focused on the next day and the work ahead. Life had taught him not to expect surprises. Elsewhere, the woman sat alone in her room, thinking deeply. She replayed the moment at the roadside again and again. She had met many people in her life, but few had shown such kindness without asking for anything back. That simple act stayed heavy in her heart. She wondered how someone with so little could give so much. The image of Tom working calmly stayed clear in her mind. As night grew quiet, she made a silent promise to herself. She would find that man again and do something that matched his kindness. She did not know how or when, but she felt sure of one thing. That small repair for a sandwich was not the end of their story. It was only the beginning of a change that would soon touch both their lives deeply. The next morning began like any other for Tom, with the sound of his alarm and the quiet movements of a tired home. He woke his son gently and helped him get ready for school. Breakfast was simple, but Tom made sure his son ate well. He tied his son's shoes carefully and reminded him to study hard and be kind. After his son left, Tom walked back to his repair space with his toolbox in hand. The town looked the same as always, slow and dusty. He opened his small workspace and began checking tools, making sure everything was ready. His thoughts stayed on work and survival, not on dreams or hope. Customers came and went throughout the morning. Some needed small fixes, others only asked questions. Tom treated everyone the same, with calm words and honest effort. He charged little and accepted even less when people struggled. His hands kept working while his mind stayed quiet. Around midday, a clean black car entered the road slowly and stopped near his repair space. It looked different from the usual cars that passed by. Tom noticed it but stayed focused on tightening a bolt. He assumed the driver would ask for directions or leave soon. A woman stepped out of the car, wearing simple clothes but walking with confidence. Tom recognized her face after a moment. It was the same woman from the day before. She smiled when she saw him, and relief showed in her eyes as if she had found what she was looking for. She greeted Tom warmly and thanked him again for helping her earlier. Tom nodded politely and said he was glad the car was still running well. He expected her to leave after a short talk. But instead, she asked if they could speak for a few minutes. Tom wiped his hands and listened. The woman explained that she had been thinking about his kindness all night. She said she was not used to people helping without expecting something back. Her words were calm but carried deep meaning. She asked about his life, and Tom answered simply. He spoke about his son and his work without sharing too much. He did not complain or ask for help. The woman listened carefully, noticing how he never spoke badly about his situation. After a short pause, the woman asked if Tom would be willing to take on a larger repair job. She said she knew someone who needed reliable help. Tom hesitated, unsure what she meant. He had heard promises before that led nowhere. She assured him it was honest work and said she trusted his skills. Tom agreed to listen, though he stayed cautious. She gave him an address and asked him to visit the next day. Before leaving, she thanked him once more and drove away. Tom watched the car disappear down the road. He felt confused but curious. Part of him wanted to ignore it and stick to what he knew. Another part wondered if this could be a chance for change. He packed his tools slowly, thinking about the address. That evening, Tom told his son about the woman and the possible work. His son's eyes filled with excitement and questions. Tom smiled but reminded him not to expect too much. Still, the idea of something better quietly settled in his heart. The next day, Tom arrived at the address early in the morning. It was a large repair center on the edge of the city. Clean floors and modern tools filled the space. Tom felt out of place standing there with his worn clothes and old toolbox. The woman met him at the entrance and welcomed him inside. She explained that she managed the place and needed someone skilled and honest. She said many workers came and went, but few truly cared about the work. Tom listened closely, still unsure. She asked him to show his skills on a damaged engine. Tom worked slowly and carefully, ignoring the people watching him. His hands moved with confidence, and his focus stayed sharp. Within an hour, the problem was clear and the solution simple. The woman watched silently as Tom explained what he had done. She nodded with approval and thanked him for his honesty. She offered him regular work with fair pay and steady hours. Tom felt his chest tighten with emotion but kept his voice calm. He asked if he could think about it overnight. The woman agreed and told him to take his time. She said opportunities should feel right, not forced. Tom thanked her and left the building quietly, his mind full of thoughts. That night, Tom sat beside his sleeping son, thinking deeply. He thought about the hard days and the long nights. He thought about missed chances and silent hopes. This offer felt different, but fear still lingered. The next morning, Tom returned to the repair center with a clear decision. He accepted the offer and promised to work with full dedication. The woman smiled and welcomed him officially. She told him this was only the beginning. Weeks passed, and Tom's life slowly began to change. He worked in a clean space with proper tools and steady income. He came home earlier and spent more time with his son. The stress that once filled his days began to fade. Tom never forgot where he came from. He still helped people when he could and stayed humble. The woman continued to watch his progress quietly, proud of her decision. She believed kindness deserved a chance to grow. What Tom did not know was that this opportunity was only one step. The woman had more plans in mind. She believed that true change came from lifting others up. And soon, Tom's life was about to change even more. Life moved forward with a steady rhythm for Tom after he accepted the new job. Each morning he woke with more energy than before and prepared his son for school with a lighter heart. The worry that once followed him everywhere slowly faded. He still worked hard, but now his effort felt valued. For the first time in years, he felt safe planning for tomorrow. At the repair center, Tom became known for his careful work and honest nature. Other workers noticed how he never rushed and never ignored small details. Customers began asking for him by name because they trusted his judgment. The woman watched quietly as his reputation grew. She felt proud but never said much about it. Tom used his steady income to improve their home little by little. He fixed the leaking roof and bought a small desk for his son to study. Evenings became calmer, filled with homework and shared meals. His son smiled more and slept better. Tom knew these changes mattered more than money. One afternoon, the woman asked Tom to join her for a short walk during lunch. They spoke about work and life in simple words. She shared that she once struggled too and learned that kindness could open doors. Tom listened closely, understanding more than she realized. Their respect for each other grew quietly. Weeks later, the woman invited Tom to a meeting at the repair center. Several people were there, listening carefully. She spoke about expanding the business and helping skilled workers who lacked opportunity. Then she surprised Tom by asking him to lead a small team. The room went silent as all eyes turned to him. Tom felt nervous but accepted the responsibility with honesty. He promised to guide others the same way he worked himself. Over time, he trained young workers and shared what he knew. Many of them came from hard backgrounds and found hope through his guidance. The repair center became a place of learning and trust. As Tom grew into his role, he never forgot the roadside space where he once worked. On weekends, he visited that old place and fixed small problems for people who could not afford help. Sometimes his son joined him, watching and learning. Those moments reminded Tom of where kindness first met his path. One evening, the woman visited Tom's home for dinner. It was simple food, but the warmth filled the room. She thanked Tom for proving that her trust was right. Tom thanked her for seeing his value when others did not. They both understood that one small act had changed everything. The woman later revealed that she had bought the land where Tom once worked. She planned to turn it into a free training space for young mechanics. She asked Tom to help guide the project. He agreed without hesitation, knowing it could change many lives. His heart felt full with purpose. The training space opened months later and quickly filled with eager learners. Tom taught them skills and values with patience. He spoke about honesty, effort, and helping others. Many found confidence through his words and actions. The town slowly changed as more people found work and direction. Years passed, and Tom's life stood far from where it began. His son grew strong and hopeful, inspired by his father's journey. The repair center thrived, and the training space continued to grow. The woman remained a quiet supporter, proud of what kindness had built. One day, Tom stood outside the training space and watched young workers laugh and learn. He remembered the sandwich that once fed him and his son. That small moment had planted a seed of change. Tom smiled, knowing that simple kindness had truly changed his life forever. Tom's life had become full of purpose and hope in ways he had never imagined. Each morning, he woke before sunrise, not out of obligation, but with a quiet excitement for the day. His son now ran to get ready for school, full of energy and smiles. Breakfasts were warm, conversations longer, and the small house felt alive with laughter and comfort. Tom often paused to watch his son, grateful that the small choices of the past had led to this stability. At the repair center, Tom had earned respect not only for his skill but also for his fairness and integrity. New workers looked up to him, and customers sought him out knowing he could fix any problem honestly. The woman who had changed his life watched quietly, always appreciating his humility. She never needed to tell him how valuable he had become. His actions spoke louder than words ever could. The training space Tom helped create had become a beacon in the town. Young men and women came daily to learn skills and build confidence. They watched Tom patiently teach engines, tools, and techniques, but they learned more than that. They learned persistence, honesty, and respect for work. Tom shared stories of his past struggles, showing that even small acts of kindness could lead to great change. One afternoon, the woman brought a group of investors to visit the training space. Tom led them on a tour, explaining how young people were learning real skills for real jobs. The investors were impressed not just with the facility, but with the commitment and heart behind it. They promised support to help expand the program, creating more opportunities for those who needed them. Tom felt proud, but he remained humble, knowing it was teamwork that made it possible. At home, Tom continued to teach his son important lessons. He showed that honesty and hard work mattered more than wealth or recognition. They worked on small car repairs together, shared meals, and talked about dreams. Tom's son began to understand the meaning of responsibility and compassion. His confidence grew alongside his father's, and the bond between them strengthened with every passing day. The woman remained an important part of Tom's journey, though she never imposed herself. Sometimes she stopped by with supplies for the training center, or just to share a meal with Tom and his son. Their relationship was built on mutual respect, trust, and shared purpose. She reminded Tom that the world still needed people who chose kindness over convenience, and he had become one of them. One weekend, Tom decided to take a group of students to his old roadside repair spot. He told them about the day he helped a woman with just a sandwich, and how that act had led to the life he had now. The students listened carefully, inspired by the simplicity of the story and the power of small actions. They realized that even the smallest gestures could create opportunities beyond imagination. As the years passed, Tom's work and influence continued to grow. He opened new branches of the training space in nearby towns, teaching more young people valuable skills. His son graduated from school with honors and showed the same kindness and honesty his father had instilled. Tom watched with pride as the boy helped others, quietly continuing the cycle of giving that had shaped their lives. The woman continued to quietly support the expansion of the training spaces, ensuring that Tom and the young workers had the resources they needed. She knew that the real value came not from money or fame, but from the impact of changing lives. Every success reminded her of the day she had met Tom, the single dad who fixed a car for a sandwich, and how that simple act had sparked something extraordinary. One evening, Tom stood outside the main training space as the sun set. He listened to the laughter of young students and watched his son help a small group learn a difficult task. The wind carried the faint sounds of tools, conversations, and gratitude. Tom thought back to the day the woman's car had broken down, to the sandwich, and to the choices he had made. He realized that life had rewarded him in ways far beyond what he could have imagined. Tom's journey had taught him that kindness, patience, and dedication could transform not only one life but many. He had learned that helping others without expecting anything in return created ripples that reached far beyond sight. The town had changed around him, but more importantly, the people had changed. Young workers who once doubted themselves now had hope, skill, and opportunity. In the quiet moments of reflection, Tom often smiled to himself. He remembered the small acts that led to this new life and never took them for granted. Each repair, each lesson, each choice to act with honesty had shaped a future filled with stability, love, and purpose. He realized that the life he had once only dreamed of was now real, and it all began with a single act of kindness. Tom continued to work, teach, and guide others with humility and care. His son grew into a young man who understood responsibility, compassion, and the power of giving. The training centers flourished, and the community thrived. And every evening, when Tom returned home and shared a simple meal with his son, he remembered the sandwich that had changed everything and felt grateful for the journey that had followed. The story of the single dad who fixed a car for a sandwich became a quiet legend in the town. People spoke of his honesty, his skill, and his willingness to help others without expecting reward. The woman who had unknowingly started it all smiled quietly when she heard these stories, knowing that small kindness could create big miracles. Tom's life, once ordinary and difficult, had transformed into one of purpose, love, and lasting impact.